digitalisasi TVET menurut ke norma baru. So many things yang kita nak belajar dalam masa yang baru ini, dan ini adalah hari yang ke-20, ini adalah slot yang ke-27 ya. Hari yang ke-9 kita adakan webinar. So Dr. Harwati, you are the 26th presenter today. Dan pada hari ini kita bernasib baik kerana bersama kita adalah Dr. Harwati yang akan berbicara atau berkongsi mengenai dengan effective online assessment. So selama ni kita dah bercakap mengenai dengan teknologi, kita cakap tentang psikologi, kita dah bercakap pasal PDP online dan sebagainya, tapi satu elemen penting yang boleh mengimbang semuanya adalah assessment ya. Tanpa assessment kita hanya adalah one way, kita tidak tahu nak menilai tahap kefahaman pelajar dan sebagainya. Jadi today we'll be exploring that with Dr. Harwati as a very important 1 hour. Jadi because this is where we're going to see where all our strategies will be working or not. Okay. Now bersama saya adalah Puan Masrul Anita daripada bahagian peperiksaan dan penilaian. Saya suka pentaksiran dan sebagainya daripada JPPKK. She will be moderator dengan saya dan bersama-sama kita akan juga telah mewawarkan kepada warga peperiksaan dan penilaian di Politeknik dan College Community supaya they are part of our audience today, Dr. Harwati. So will be speaking to them as well, the main people. Juga saya nak berkongsi bahawa sebelum Mas Ronita introduce that I know Dr. Harwati since Polytechnic Melimau Melaka, right? We did contents together and so on, a very long history. So a very supportive person and also very enthusiastic as far as online learning is concerned. Okey, dengan tidak buang masa, saya nak menjemput co-moderator saya untuk memperkenalkan Dr. Harwati dan seterusnya menjemput Dr. Harwati untuk present. Silakan Mas.
Terima kasih Doktor. Terima kasih. Okey, sebelum kita mula tu saya nak bagi sedikit latar belakang tentang Dr. Harwati ni lah. Seperti tadi Dr. Nana ada sebut, Dr. Harwati juga merupakan pensyarah di Politeknik Melimau sebelum ke UKM, betul ya Doktor?
Betul.
So saya bacakan sedikit tentang latar belakang Doktor, iaitu Dr. Harwati binti Hashim ni merupakan ketua program prasiswazah di bidang TESOL dan juga pensyarah kanan di Fakulti di Pusat Kajian Inovasi Pembelajaran dan Pengajaran di Fakulti Pendidikan Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. Dr. Harwati juga specialize dalam mobile assisted language learning dan area ni lebih kepada concentration mobile learning, betul Doktor?
Betul.
Okay. Dan juga teknologi enhanced language learning as well as innovative pedagogy and the use of technology in language teaching and learning. Dr. Harwati juga adalah member untuk Pacific Computer Assisted Language Learning, iaitu PAC Call, ya Doktor? Betul ke saya pronounce ni?
Kita panggil PAC-Call.
Alright. Dan juga Mobile Learning Association Malaysia ataupun MLAM. Okey.
Bukan makin lebar ya?
Okey, Dr. Harwati ni juga adalah seorang educational technology enthusiast and learning practitioner and also a certified Apple teacher. Okay, betul Doktor?
Betul.
Sebelum kita pergi kepada yang Doktor akan terangkan kita berkenaan dengan effective online assessment ni, so mungkin Doktor ada sedikit introduction untuk kepada kawan-kawan di JPPK yang akan menonton webinar.
Okay, mungkin as doing that saya share teruslah slide saya, boleh ya Doktor? Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. First of all, saya nak ucapkan terima kasih lah kepada JPPKK atas jemputan ni. Terima kasih juga kepada Dr. Zainal Abidin, atau saya panggil Dr. Nana lah sebab Dr. Nana kan. And also Puan Mas kan, boleh ke saya panggil Puan Mas?
Boleh.
Thank you for the brief introduction. Suka saya juga nak tambah sedikit, apart from mengajar di Melimau, Politeknik Melimau, saya juga pernah mengajar di Politeknik Ibrahim Sultan. Dan juga yang terakhir di Politeknik Port Dickson lah, dan sempatlah bersama dengan Dr. Nana di bawah tim e-learning bersama Dr. Nana lah. Jadi insyaAllah Alhamdulillah hari ini saya akan cuba share the best of how to design effective online assessment. So saya rasa without further ado mungkin saya boleh start sikit lah. Okay, so seperti yang tadi Puan Mas ada mention, actually my area is more of technology enhanced language learning. Oh, sebelum tu saya nak minta maaf, saya prepare slide saya dalam bahasa Inggeris tapi saya akan gunakan both language lah, kedua-dua bahasa. So basically apa yang saya akan share hari ini, I will touch on 4 main things, sebab not so much, I think within 1 hour plus minus 45 minutes. So nothing much can be covered, but I believe I will try to share what most important lah in terms of designing effective online assessment. There are 4 things that I'm going to share. First of all, of course, we need an introduction, and then saya akan sentuh sedikit. I think the gist of the presentation is designing effective online assessment lah. And we will also need to discuss on issues and challenges, definitely, because we need to understand from both sides, students as well as the lecturers. And then kita, I believe bila saya tengok jadual dah banyak giving exposure on the tools. So more or less is the same tool, it's just the different purpose. So what I'm going to touch on number 4 is more of apa yang kita boleh, tools apa yang kita boleh guna, and I'm not going to go further lah because I can see some sessions on those tools. So basically it's just a touch and go, orang kata elaboration, and in the end kita ada Q&A lah. Okay, so saya rasa berapa ramai partisipan hari ini, Doktor?
Kita tu boleh
nak detect. Okay. So tapi saya assume all are lecturers from different background. Kita ada from different background lah, ada technical, ada non-technical lecturers. So saya nak sedikit aja respon daripada partisipan. Saya advise menggunakan device yang berbeza lah, bukan device yang anda gunakan untuk join webinar ni sekarang. So what you can do is to go to menti.com and try to use the code 842347. I have posted a question there just to get a very quick feedback daripada semua on what do you think of apakah yang sangat penting atau to be put as priority when it comes to the implementation of online assessment. So saya mungkin boleh share saya punya Mentimeter. Are you seeing this? Ada nampak slide yang ni ke, Doktor? Wait. Saya tak dengar suara Doktor.
Now we can see your Mentimeter.
Okay. Alright, sekarang saya dengar. Tadi saya tak dengar suara Doktor. Okay. So I just want to get a very quick feedback on how do you rank these factors in relation to online assessment. It is very important before conducting something, analysis should be done. So I have actually identified some of the factors based on studies, previous studies, and there are 5 factors yang sangat penting untuk consider dalam online assessment. Not just online learning but also online assessment. So among the factors are internet access, learning spaces, type of devices used, prior knowledge as well as psychological well-being. So saya point out 5 sahaja, and among these 5 yang mana tuan-tuan dan puan-puan atau doktor semua rasa the most important factor to be considered when it comes to online assessment. And, okay.
We can see your Mentimeter page.
Okay, let me stop sharing first. Okay. Okay, so ini dah nampak ke, Doktor?
Yeah.
Right, so as predicted lah, seperti yang kita dah predict, walaupun kita dalam keadaan emergency remote teaching, online learning dan sebagainya, internet access is still the barriers, and kita nampaknya macam come into consensus yang internet access is very important, not just for the lecturers, but definitely for the students. That's what most important. And surprisingly, saya nampak ramai yang letak prior knowledge at second, apa tu orang kata, second most important. And I do agree, because this is where we want to go into designing effective online assessment, where you need to look into students' prior knowledge. That is very important. And then followed by type of devices, and kemudian learning spaces and psychological well-being. Okay, so thank you for the response. Saya akan cuba touch lah one by one. Let me stop this first. Okay, where is my keynote? Okay. Okay, so why is it important for us to consider all this when it comes to implementation of online learning? Of course, we can see that many have answered access when we talk about internet access, because this is online. Definitely internet is the most basic necessity in order for us to implement the assessment. And when we talk about psychological well-being, actually it is very important at what state kalau kita nak bagi assessment tu, are the students able to control the situation. Pernah tak kita tanya students kita, do you have an environment or a room for you to actually sit down and jawab quiz dan sebagainya? Are you in a state of you can handle a situation? Kadang-kadang saya ada dapat, sebab saya ni ketua program untuk TESOL, banyaklah kalau student mengadu tu, mereka kata tak ada bilik, adik-beradik ramai, macam mana ni doktor bila nak belajar. That is under psychological well-being. And then when it comes into devices, kita nak tahu juga apa device yang student pakai. Ada depending on laptop, ada depending on desktop, ada depending on just mobile. Ada juga student yang tak tahu kenapa bila balik rumah dia tak bawa balik laptop. Those cases happen. And then access to internet, definitely. And then when we talk about prior knowledge, we should ask ourselves what topics or what knowledge have been covered when it comes to assessing the students. So that is also important. And as I mentioned just now, when it comes to learning spaces, we talk about digital and physical learning spaces lah. Both should be taken into consideration when it comes to online assessment. And pernah tengok tak, Dr. Nana pernah terbaca tak yang ni? Lately she has become very famous. One student from UMS, dia panjat pokok untuk jawab peperiksaan. I think she's a Sabahan ke Sarawakian? I think she's a Sabahan. Saya tengok YouTube dia buat had dekat atas pokok, dia kena panjat untuk dapatkan internet access yang very strong. But how we wish our students are all like this. They have effort to do something. So when it comes to effort, menunjukkan dia ada readiness and acceptance. Okay, are they ready? Do they accept this kind of assessment? Especially when we talk about online assessment. So kita bukan sahaja nak bercakap dari segi pelajar, kita juga perlu melihat dari segi what are our capabilities. So bila capabilities, it reflects the lecturers punya capabilities lah. Here when we talk about capabilities, usually we always refer to TPAC. Either they are basically ready in terms of content knowledge, either lecturers are ready in terms of pedagogical knowledge. When we talk about pedagogical knowledge, we talk about pedagogical technological knowledge, meaning that dalam environment online tu, adakah lecturers pedagogically ready? So, and also we talk about technological knowledge. If you can get the overlapping of all these three, content, pedagogical and technological, dekat tengah-tengah tu dia overlap, and lecturers ada tiga-tiga tu, that means they are all capable of doing online assessment lah. And this shows that they are ready and they have high acceptance of using online assessment. So ini semua perlu kita lihat sebelum kita pergi kepada implementing online assessment itself. Okay. So when it comes to assessment, look into the triple functions of assessment. Okay. Kenapa kita buat assessment? Bila kita buat assessment? Apa, what to access. But of course the triple functions look into before, during and after. And what does this mean? Maksudnya kita nak access student masa bila? Adakah before the lesson? Adakah during the lesson? Adakah after the learning? So there are triple functions of assessment that we need to identify before assessing our students. Okay. And because of that, as a lecturer, we need to also identify the role of assessment. Usually, I would say, ini saya reflect kepada diri saya jugalah. Usually, kita akan lihat assessment as to assess students' understanding and also to grade the students in the end. But I believe we always have forgotten to look into whether assessment determine if students are ready for new content. So meaning that this should be done every week or every time we want to introduce new content. So before we start the lesson, we need an assessment, we call it as assessment, to determine if the students are ready for new content, nak belajar topik baru, adakah mereka ready, adakah mereka dapat prior knowledge yang mereka dah belajar sebelum ni. And then assessment is also important to provide students and lecturers about the learning state. Sebab kita selalu assume learning is happening. Even dekat dalam physical class pun kita rasa learning is happening. But how do we prove that learning is happening? So it is very important to give assessment for the students, for us and also for the students to check and balance whether what is the learning state, what is the current learning state. And of course, one big role of assessment that we see always is to give input to grade. At the end of the learning, nak dapat A ke, B ke, C ke, fail ke dan sebagainya lah. And don't forget, as we are giving formative assessment, the role of assessment is itself to identify students at risk of failure. Meaning that along the way, adakah assessment tu membantu kita ataupun student tu sendiri to identify adakah dia ni berisiko untuk gagal ataupun memang orang kata menjunam lah. So those are students who need help. Okay. So those are on the introduction. I'm not going to talk what is assessment and so on, because when it comes to assessment physically and digitally, not so much different in terms of the theoretical foundation itself. However, we look into how it goes in the digital environment. So what most important is how to design an effective online assessment. So far okay ke? Okay, Puan Mas?
Okay, Doctor.
Alright. So when it comes to online assessment, what aspect of students' learning can we assess online? I think this is not just in polytechnic or college community, even us at university we receive a lot of questions sebab macam saya sendiri di fakulti pendidikan kita ada task force untuk online learning ni. When it comes to MCO, terus dekat create task force and kita ada beberapa orang yang bantu helpdesk lah. Jadi banyak soalan daripada pensyarah, macam mana I nak assess students kalau dia buat reflection, how do I assess students kalau dia buat presentation, macam mana kita nak ensure that kalau collaborative dia betul-betul collaborate, those kind of things lah. Questions, sebab kalau depan-depan kita boleh physical, kita boleh nampak, kalau dia group discussion kita boleh nampak kan, tapi when it comes to online, can we assume that collaboration is happening? Those kind of things. So there are a lot of orang question marks lah when it comes to assessing student online. Of course, saya rasa Puan Mas pun would be agree with me. We have to go back to constructive alignment. Of course, bila kita mengajar students physically, face to face, kita tengok constructive alignment. Tapi bila kita mengajar student, kita nak assess dia online, kita tak melihat online punya elemen from the beginning. Kita just ajar, in the end kita nak assess dia online. So for me, that is not constructively aligned. So when it comes to online environment, everything should be aligned from the beginning. starting from intended learning outcome into learning activities, into assessment and feedback. And therefore, just to share some experience, bila kita nak convert assessment ni sebenarnya at our faculty, we ad hoc buat terus mesyuarat untuk merubah our performa. Because it has to be aligned. Kalau tak, dia tak align. So kita cepat-cepat ad hoc ni tengok balik performa and we have to align balik because we have to set now everything has to be online. So macam mana kita nak align from the learning outcome to assessment and feedback and to the learning activities itself. It has to be together lah. And when we talk about intended learning outcomes, of course we are referring to what can students do at the end of the courses, at the end of the course. And considering that, what kind of learning activities are suitable under the digital environment? Not just using LMS only, not just by having classes using Zoom, but what pedagogically correct or suitable for that kind of learning environment, and also what learning activities will help students to achieve those learning outcomes. And of course, after we have set the outcomes, we have implemented the learning activities, in the end, what assessment is suitable to actually assess the student based on what we have started in the beginning. Macam mana kita nak tahu if a student has achieved these outcomes? So, back to basic, we cannot run away. Even though it is a traditional way of assessing or digital way of assessing, back to constructive alignment. And of course, suka saya ni nak reflect juga diri saya sebenarnya. Bila kita nak bagi assessment tu sebenarnya kita ajar tiba-tiba kita nak access student online without considering yang daripada learning outcome tu lah. So that what most important. Kena tengok balik learning objective. And maybe saya bersentuh sikit when it comes to learning objective. Of course, we want to look into what do I want students to know at the end of this course when they leave this course. When it comes to assessment, what kind of tasks will reveal that the students have achieved the learning objective. And then when it comes to instructional strategies or learning activities, what kind of activities in and out of class will reinforce learning objective. So, kalau saya nak take out the verb, the main verb, reinforce. So, kalau kita tiba-tiba in the end bagi assessment tapi kita tak enforce dalam digital environment tu, so we are not measuring what is supposed to be measured. So itu yang agak critical lah. And talking about assessment, kita tahu kita ada
sorry, Arwati, can you go back to the slide before, please? Is there any reason why assessment comes after learning objective?
No. This is it's basically just a random. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So it's supposed to be learning objective, learning activities, and finally assessment lah. This is just a random arrangement. Okay. Right. So we know that we have assessment for learning and we have assessment of learning, and kita ada satu lagi which is assessment as learning. Yeah. But because assessment as learning is more of the students' metacognitive ability to reflect dia punya own state of learning, to actually monitor dia punya learning, so that is more of the students' responsibility. Usually kita tak measure lah when it comes to grading. So I would like to focus on these two, which are assessment for learning and assessment of learning. So kenapa assessment for learning? It is actually the process of seeking and interpreting evidence used by learners and teachers to decide where the learners are in their learning. Nak tahulah state dekat mana. And this is usually known as formative assessment. Meaning that kita mungkin bagi secara berkala, it can be throughout the semester lah. As assessment of learning, fungsinya adalah to assess students' knowledge and competence in terms of desired learning goal. So ini biasanya kita refer sebagai summative assessment and given either at the end of the course untuk kita grade pelajar tu untuk dia tahu apa pencapaian dia, adakah, and pada untuk lecturer untuk tahu adakah pelajar ini meet the intended learning objective yang kita dah plan lah from the beginning of the semester. And that's why suka saya nak highlight based on the constructive alignment tadi, it is very crucial for us to identify suitable online assessment, and with that we have to also plan lessons with online assessment. So kita nak tadi semua align kan, constructively align. So lesson juga mesti diplan bersesuaian dengan online assessment lah. Time flies okay. So sebab tadi saya menggunakan terms assessment for learning and assessment of learning. Now I'm going to refer them as formative and summative assessment. Okay, kalau ingat tadi saya kata assessment for learning adalah formative and assessment of learning is summative. And what are those two? Sebenarnya kita selalu get ourselves confused, but actually assessment for learning and formative assessment are the same. So it provides us evidence to ensure learning is happening. Macam saya kata tadi, kita tak boleh assume learning is happening. Mungkin kita bagi pub quiz dalam kelas, mungkin kita guna Kahoot dan sebagainya, just to cross check whether learning is happening. And when it comes to summative assessment, it measures students' performance lah in the end, dan juga sebenarnya it reflects our way of teaching. Adakah kita it helps us in terms of reflecting activities yang kita guna pakai. Kalau students tak perform, what went wrong? Is it because of the assessment tak measure the objective, ataupun sebenarnya something missing in the middle, which is the learning activities ataupun kita punya instructional activity dalam kelas, instructional strategies. I think
sorry, disturb sikit. Saya nak tanya tadi, kita sentuh pasal formatif dengan summative. Just make it clear supaya audience kita di JPPKK dan juga di Politeknik clear tentang maksud formatif dan juga summative, sebab sometimes pensyarah kita dia confuse. Dia kata formatif ni just untuk penilaian berterusan yang tidak ada, kadang-kadang sometimes formatif pada pahaman saya dia boleh menjadi grade. Betul tak Doktor?
Boleh.
Sebenarnya totally memang untuk graded.
Yes. Summative tu adalah mungkin kita nak bagi di hujung sekali ada satu final exam. Itu adalah summative. Tetapi kalau kita bagi quiz in between 10 markah itu adalah formative. Way of assessing the students lah. So yang tu yang kita kata tadi, formative tu adalah untuk tengok learning is happening, learning state. Of course dia ada dua, sama ada when it comes to formative kita nak grade ataupun kita tak grade just because we want to check student faham tak apa yang kita ajar. Tapi kalau it is graded, it is considered as continuous assessment sebab markah tu nanti in the end akan dicampurkan dengan summative assessment lah, which is the final exam. So that is the terms yang kita pakai untuk formative and summative lah. Okay, Puan Mas. Alright, dan saya rasa table ni sangat perlu untuk para pensyarah tengok. When it comes to type of question and Bloom's level of taxonomy, apa-apa pun kita kena go back to Bloom's level of taxonomy, and we have revised Bloom's level of taxonomy, which is on top is the create punya level lah. And apabila kita nak test the students, I think this is very important regardless of digital or traditional. Kalau kita nak guna jenis true or false, kalau kita guna online dia senang sikit. So kita boleh automatically graded. The benefit lah itself automatically graded, kita boleh just in the end dapat markah. And kalau based kepada Bloom's level of learning, true or false ni hanya menguji level knowledge and comprehension. And we have one more which is fill in the blanks. Yang ni kita boleh kata lots lah, lower order thinking skill. Very low except for yang application tu dekat saya letak kat situ. Because kadang-kadang bila fill in the blanks dia kena be able to apply juga kan. So it depends on what level of learning yang kita nak test. And fill in the blanks kalau kita guna online, kita boleh set dia as automatically graded lah. Itu yang advantage of using online. And actually type of LOs, learning outcome, kalau kita ada learning outcome kita recall, recognize, identify, we can use this. Provided that kita tengok C berapa lah yang kita nak test, the level dekat dalam students punya assessment. And kita ada juga MCQ, multiple choice questions. Yang ni saya nak bagi tahu yang mudah dulu lah, nak bagi positif dulu dekat pensyarah, yang the grading method can be automatically graded. And of course, the Bloom's level of learning untuk multiple choice question, it can be testing knowledge, it can be testing comprehension, it can be testing application and analysis. And kita ada satu lagi jenis which is multiple response question. Maksudnya dia boleh pilih lebih daripada satu jawapan. It can be automatically graded and it tests knowledge, comprehension, application or even analysis. So kalau kita check balik kita punya jenis LO mungkin kita ada kata kerja LO kita tu menggunakan recall, recognize, identify, interpret, exemplify dan sebagainya. We can use MCQ and we can also use MRQ. And yang paling best adalah we can set as automatically graded. Nanti saya beritahu lah apa tools yang ada. Okay. And last but not least that we have yang orang kata higher order thinking skills lah. The hot question, basically jenis-jenis soalan mungkin berbentuk essay. It can also be short answer, reflection, article review, case study. Maybe when we want our students to write a report. Maybe we want our students to come up with a portfolio. Maybe we want our students to prepare a presentation. A forum, sorry, it should be a slash there. Forum/project or proposal. And however, this HOTS level kena manually graded lah. Kita tak boleh set as automatic graded kalau guna online environment or online tools. And definitely when it comes to HOTS, we need rubrics. And the rubrics also need to be aligned together with the online environment. So it's not just basically the same rubric. Macam kita assume rubric presentation masa kita kat kelas macam ni, rubric presentation masa dekat online macam ni. It's not going to be the same. So it has to be revised in terms of the rubric itself. And level of learning can be catering knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation and grade lah. Grade would be the highest level of revised Bloom's taxonomy. And maybe we can check our LOs kalau kita ada interpret, kita ada classify, summarize, compare, explain, apply, organize, create, design that can fall under this type of questions lah. And of course it is going to be manually graded. Okay, saya cakap laju ke? Okay, so maybe of course bila kita dah tahu role of assessment, kita dah check and balance kita punya constructive alignment, and also kita dah identify what type of question suitable for apa tu orang kata assessing the right LO. Now we have to design lessons for online assessment. Kita selalu lesson tu kita plan. Now we have to change. We are no longer planning, but we should be designing. Kalau saya sekarang ni, because I am into teachers training program kan, kita produce teacher, our nature of our faculty. So I always say students, you are no longer planning, you are now designing. So design the right lesson for your teaching and learning activity lah. So what we want now is designing the appropriate or the suitable lesson for online assessment. Sebab in the beginning itself kita dah set dalam kepala, everything will be assessed online. So lesson should be also catering accordingly to the online assessment. So mungkin saya boleh bagi satu contoh what we have for my own course. I'm teaching this together with Associate Professor Dr. Mendo. So this course is teaching writing in ESL context. Sebenarnya ada beberapa CLO tapi saya letak dua je lah dekat sini. For example, demonstrate an understanding of the theory of writing L1 and L2, principles, approaches and techniques of teaching writing. So kita plan awal-awal what is the mode of delivery. So kita kata okay kita ada synchronous and asynchronous, kita guna MOOC, kita guna UKM Folio. However, in terms of learning activities, it is going to be more of task-based learning. Because we have to also check students level lah. Now ours is undergraduate, and for us this task-based learning approach is suitable for their level lah. Okay, type of assessment we have to decide when it comes to this first CLO. With this mode of delivery, apa yang sesuai untuk kita assess, so we end up decided to use Kahoot and MOOC. So students boleh guna Kahoot, And then also MOOC lah, dia ada a few activities kat dalam MOOC yang dia kena complete lah. And then as for the second CLO, contohnya we want students to be able to implement effective lessons for teaching writing skills creatively and innovatively. So it comes to that CLO, it is already higher order thinking skills. And we decided to have mode of delivery, both synchronous and asynchronous. And of course, again, because the soul is task-based learning, masa awal-awal tak PKP, the soul of this course is service-based learning. Sebab service dia boleh go out and give service kan, tapi community and sebagainya kita ada assign activity lah untuk dia in terms of alternative assessment. Tapi when it comes to MCO, dia nak pergi service tak boleh, dia nak keluar tak boleh, so we rombak semua balik and then we decided to have task-based learning. Meaning that it is like more or less of problem solving dan sebagainya lah, we assign them tasks. And what they assess is based on yang untuk HOTS ni, CLO 2, kita ada 2 main project which they have to have identify issues in learning writing. Macam mana they identify issues, they have to conduct online survey dan sebagainya. They have to plan innovative ways of teaching and then they have to create lesson plan. And then of course later they have to conduct a mini research which is based on whatever they have invented ni tadi, they have created. They have to have sort of research sebab kita research university kan, so everything has to be converted into research. Okay, so what I want to highlight here is that everything has to be aligned from the CLO to the delivery, which is the learning activities, to the assessment. So ya, doktor? Saya tak dengar suara doktor.
Yeah, I mute so that tak ada echo. So all these examples that you have shown, these are mainly for the summative assessments, right?
Formative and summative, doctor, because we have Kahoot and MOOC as well. The mini project and mini research is the summative because we don't have final exam.
So the Kahoot there is
Formative.
The MOOC is summative. Formative as well.
CLO1 we are using formative. CLO2 is basically a summative because it reflect from the beginning of the semester sampai habis apa yang dia faham lah untuk dia to be able to complete the task.
I think that's where also the confusion lies. Right? I mean, kita plan, suddenly we do not know. It looks like it's all assessment, but where does it fall under formative?
Yes.
Summative and so on. Yeah.
Dia kalau kita nak bezakan mungkin assessment untuk formative tu kita bagi berkala. Contohnya macam CLO1 minggu ni kita nak student belajar first topic. Tapi kita nak bagi satu pop quiz 5 markah contohnya. So dia jawab, dia dapat 5 markah. So itu akan added dekat dalam formative assessment punya markah. Macam Kahoot tu sikit-sikit lah, 10 markah setiap topik lah katakan. Kalau ada 8 topik, maybe we want to give 5 marks. So in the end ada berapa markah tu kumpul dekat situ. That is formative. Because the soul of formative, kalau kita nampak student tak boleh score, next week kita nak apa yang missing. Kenapa minggu lepas kita students ni tak boleh faham topik ni. So mungkin kita
the whole thing about formative, if you look at your slides number 3, you early on kita define what is formative and summative. Summative means marks will be given, right?
Yes.
Formative is just to know where the students are, where they are going, and so on and so forth. So to say that penilaian berterusan is a form of formative is then not right.
Well, actually macam ni. Penilaian berterusan, kalau kita masih rasa student tak boleh perform, bila kita tanya dia, mungkin dia kata, doktor sebenarnya saya tak faham nota yang doktor bagi. Okay, kalau saya bagi quiz lagi sekali. So you can actually give them the second chance. Tapi kalau summative, in the end that's it. Formative you can actually katakanlah student to present untuk kita nak bagi markah tu untuk topik hari ini. Lepas saya ajar, saya nak minggu depan you prepare satu brief presentation on apa yang kita belajar last week kan. So minggu tu dia bagi. So kita rasa macam awak ni macam tak faham, macam lain je awak punya interpretation of apa yang saya ajar last week. So kita boleh bagi feedback and the students may be able to revise and reflect apa yang dia faham balik. Tapi kalau summative,
that's it.
Whatever being graded, that's it.
Tapi saya rasa saya faham kot maksud Dr. Nana, sebab kita dalam sistem kita di Politeknik, kita kebanyakan pensyarah refer kepada AST. Dalam AST kita dah bagi terus apa yang perlu dilaksanakan berdasarkan CLO. Dan dalam CLO ada test, ada quiz yang perlu dilaksanakan dan at the end adalah final exam. So kadang-kadang pensyarah ni dia confuse. Sebenarnya formative assessment ni sebenarnya adalah untuk tambah baik proses pengajaran dan pembelajaran di dalam kelas. At the same time,
boleh bagi markah
untuk menilai pensyarah untuk complete yang dia punya assessment summative tadi. Betul tak Doktor?
Betul, menilai pelajar bukan menilai pensyarah.
Yes, betul, menilai pelajar. So itu yang datang tadi, ada test, ada quiz, tapi yang itu kita ambil sebagai grade tadi.
Betul. Mungkin sebagai pensyarah ada orang yang dia go very basic. Apa yang nak di grade itu je dia bagi. Maksudnya minggu ni sepatutnya untuk CLO ni saya kena bagi awak buat quiz. So saya bagi ni, that's it. Tapi ada pensyarah yang menggunakan formative ni setiap minggu untuk dia reflect pengajaran dia balik. So ada yang dia bagi markah, ada yang juga dia gunakan untuk to check whether learning is happening. So formative ni soul dia adalah of course check students learning state, tapi either you want to take that as a mark for grading atau tidak, it's check back your scheme of work. Yang tadi AST tadi tu lah, check balik proforma dan sebagainya. So kalau macam formative ni lebih kepada, kalau saya boleh kata autonomy given to the lecturer. Kalau even though saya dah bagi base kepada CLO tu, yang ni saya kena bagi quiz, tapi bila in the end semua markah macam fail je awak ni. So maybe bila kita buat bank soalan, kita ada set 1, set 2, set 3 kan, try to give a second set and see. Ataupun sebenarnya cara kita yang mengajar tak kena. So there are many ways yang we have to reflect when it comes to formative assessment. Tapi kalau summative tu memang in the end that is to be graded. So kalau macam ada in a way that patah balik, buat semula. So that will not be happening lah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Boleh kan
Maybe we can take one question. Maybe kita tengok satu soalan di sini since you're halfway. Saya daripada Cik Muhammad Wan Rusdi. Soalan, apakah kaedah atau platform yang digunakan oleh Dr. Harwati untuk menilai bagi assessment test atau quiz dalam bentuk esei atau pengiraan kepada pelajar? Minta doktor bagi contoh atau kaedah yang sesuai yang boleh digunakan untuk menilai.
Actually saya akan sentuh yang tu dekat dalam next point. Boleh ke saya teruskan? Okay, thank you Dr. Before that, saya nak highlight balik key elements to consider when it comes to online environment. InsyaAllah saya akan sentuh soalan tadi, more of sharing of what I'm doing with my students. And walaupun this reference is a bit outdated, 2001 tu kita dah kira outdated, tapi saya suka nak berpegang kepada, I always reflect to this, orang kata, because it is a beginner's guide. Saya pun selalu reflect diri saya, I'm a beginner every time, because when it comes to technology, everyone is always a beginner. So remember, we have to look into the learning task, we have to look into the learning support, we have to look into the learning resources. Contohnya, mungkin saya boleh tunjuk satu contoh dekat learning resources dengan learning task, apa yang overlap tengah-tengah. Kalau kita nak bagi task students on problems ataupun investigate, kita kena check, ada tak kita readykan dia learning resources? Adakah students ada buku? Adakah students ada articles? Adakah students ada nota? Then only we can give tutorial quizzes or worksheet. Tapi kalau learning resources dia tak ada, something is missing with that assessment yang tengah-tengah tu, yang overlap between learning task dengan learning resources. And kalaulah dia tak ada resources, then we have to shift towards teams, collaboration, tutorial. Sebab assuming bila kita check students kan, awak ada tak what are the resources that we have apart from LMS? Kita tak ada resource lain. Nak pergi library tak boleh. Kalau macam kami PTSL, kami students kena guna intranet kan, dekat dalam baru dia boleh pergi kepada journal. So bila dia dekat rumah, dia tak dapat nak tengok journal. So what happen? So they have to collaborate. Mungkin ada kawan-kawan yang berada di, sebab macam UKM ada juga student yang ada dekat campus, sebab yang macam B40 dan sebagainya, they are allowed to be in campus provided with orang kata kebenaran lah. So maybe they have to collaborate. So that's why saya suka berpegang kepada Venn diagram ni. dekat mana sesuai dekat mana. What we want to consider when it comes to learning support and learning task yang begitu, apa yang sesuai untuk di-assess. So mungkin nanti boleh tengok balik and try to reflect dekat mana state yang sesuai untuk student kita. Adakah kita ada learning resources, adakah kita ada learning support, and in between that apa yang perlu, yang overlapping area tu. So that is very important. Okay, and sebelum saya pergi pada tu, saya nak sentuh juga sedikit rubrics ni. Rubrics ni kalau nak cerita pasal rubric pun Mas perlu another session kan. Sebab rubrics ni by itself is a very long story. Coming out with effective rubrics is also another factor kan, another things to be considered. But however, pay attention to the role of rubrics, which it is actually articulating lecturer's expectation. So it is very important that the rubrics to be transparent to the student. Kadang-kadang student tanya, doktor saya ni kalau saya buat apa yang saya akan di-assess? That means you have to share the rubrics with the students to show the students what is your expectation, bukannya rahsia. And also it is laying out scoring mechanism, apa yang kita nak student score, macam mana kita give the scoring. And what are the qualities intended to evaluate, as well as the different levels of acceptable and acceptable performance for each particular criteria. Maksudnya kita tunjuklah student yang mana yang acceptable, yang mana is not acceptable performance for each particular criteria yang kita dah decide. Okay, that is in terms of rubrics. Belum tools lagi. Saya harap Encik apa tadi tu boleh tunggu. Kita save the best for last. Bukanlah save the best, but saya kita simpan. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to issues and challenges, saya rasa saya tak buat ni lah. Sebenarnya saya ada sedikit meter tapi time does not permit. So what would be the barriers? Bila kita nak buat implementation of online assessment ni, selalunya kita talk about uneven access to technology. Ada student yang dekat kawasan yang good high internet connection, ada student yang macam tadi nak kena panjat pokok, ada student yang ada laptop, dia suka nak pakai laptop. Saya, doktor boleh tak saya nak jawab pakai, ada student yang pakai mobile, doktor kalau doktor bagi soalan panjang-panjang macam mana saya nak jawab dekat mobile. So those are the things yang we have to consider. Availability of resources, aligning assessment with intended LO. And also bila online ni kita cakap pasal validity and trustworthiness, not just the question answer, the student's answer, but also the lecturer's question. How are we going to validate and how are we going to make sure that the question is having high level of trustworthiness? And of course when it comes to online environment ni, kita kena promote integrity to the students. Maksudnya ULI ataupun college committee, perhaps we need to find one tool for the students to be able to check in terms of plagiarism. Itu yang selalu kita pegang lah. Student kita memang kita suruh dia check Turnitin using plagiarism, yang kita tolerate adalah 20% and below. Above that, that's it. So in terms of academic integrity, students' answer, there must be a way of the students to go through some plagiarism check lah, procedure. Kalau tak pun banyak yang free online, kita ada Playgram, kita ada a few lah yang free. Yang selalu saya guna adalah Playgram. Playgram tu just the students get the percentage, and I just want to know what is the percentage of similarity. So itu yang antara free similarity check tools yang kita pakai. And another constraint or challenge of online ni adalah giving feedback. Bayangkan kalau kita ada 3 kelas, kita ada LMS, student semua duk bagi, kita kata okay anak you bagi respon. Macam mana kita nak make sure, alamak, selalu student dia demotivate bila lecturer tak bagi feedback, tak ada respon. Betul ke saya buat ni? Lecturer tak payahlah bagi, dia tak baca pun. So those are the things that we need to consider. Okay, so therefore,
Doktor, dia ada soalan ni daripada kita punya Puan Siti Nuraini Hamzah ni, dia tanya, apakah platform yang paling sesuai, is the best way to assess listening test online?
Okay, listening test ni sebenarnya it is quite difficult, tapi what you can do is guna podcast. Podcast, but mungkin in terms of giving the question, dia you have to integrate the few podcast dengan maybe Google Form dia nak jawab, ataupun you can actually use Google Form, masukkan dekat dalam Google Form tu the audio. So there are ways lah untuk listening test. Yes. And sebenarnya saya pernah menggunakan just WhatsApp atau Telegram. Kalau susah sangat, send the audio through WhatsApp atau Telegram, and the question tu kita share kat dalam Google Form ataupun kita share kat dalam WhatsApp atau Telegram, and dia boleh tulis jawapan tu and snap gambar bagi kita. Itu kalau low bandwidth lah, it involve low bandwidth. So kita kena play around with different tools.
Okey, Doktor, satu lagi soalan bagi saya. Tadi Doktor ada sentuh pasal integriti kan?
Betul.
Integriti ni kita macam kalau untuk projek ataupun mungkin dari segi projek yang melibatkan penulisan tu kita boleh tengok dari segi plagiarisma dia macam mana. Tapi kalau kita nak buat online assessment, macam mana kita nak detect dari segi cheat ni? Pelajar ni kan kadang kita tak tahu dia buat online assessment dia cheating ni.
Sebab tu kalau kita buat online assessment tu, kita tak boleh bagi soalan yang direct. So kita kena gunakan different level of thinking skill. So kalau avoiding, katakan you ada 1 jam je untuk jawab, tapi soalan tu is soalan reflecting. So you tak sempat nak ask around ke macam mana ke, nak buka buku ke. And usually kalau nak tahu sebenarnya, to be honest, kalau kita buat exam sekarang pun, kita cakap dengan student, it is an open book test. But the answer is not in the book. so that's why kita go back to validity and trustworthiness of the question to avoid cheating dan sebagainya lah.
Instead cara ni perlu lagi lebih kreatif lah, sebab kita kalau biasa kita nak test pada student kita sama ada final ataupun dalam bentuk formatif, kita dalam kurikulum memang dah siap stated CLO berapa dan C berapa. So means pensyarah perlu lagi kreatif untuk soal lebih tinggi lagi Doktor.
Betul. Itu yang saya bagi kat sini. Mungkin nanti kalau dapat slide ni boleh tengok type of LOs tu. Belah kanan tu nak summarize ke, compare ke, bentuk soalan yang macam mana, nak buat short essay ke, reflection ke. So it's not going to be benda yang dia boleh buat by tiru sana sini. So that is to avoid cheating lah. InsyaAllah. Tapi kadang-kadang student ni dia sangat bijak tau. Dia going to be very creative. So kita akan belajar juga at the same time. Maybe the first time kita dapat tahu lubang dia apa. So kita kena revise lagi. Always orang kata revisit lah. Okay. Saya share sedikit how do we plan and strategize in terms of online assessment. Of course, identify the low bandwidth students with medium bandwidth, students with high bandwidth. Kalau students banyak low bandwidth, we have to opt for asynchronous assessment. Maksudnya kalau nak kata saya bagi awak 1 jam untuk jawab, that will be very impossible for students with low bandwidth. So and also apa platform yang ada, mungkin kita cuma boleh guna WhatsApp, Telegram atau podcast. Kalau student with medium bandwidth, it's going to be synchronous and asynchronous, both are okay as long as diorang ada medium bandwidth, boleh guna YouTube insyaAllah and collaborative activities. Tapi kalau diorang high bandwidth, langsung tak ada masalah nak buat virtual presentation, real time assessment, by all means please go ahead. So this need to be first analysed lah. Yang ni saya berkata soalan Dr. Nana mention tadi, tools for online assessment. So macam saya kata tadi, saya dah tengok ada banyak sebenarnya kat dalam jadual tu yang menyentuh pada Mentimeter, Telegram dan sebagainya. So semua ni saya dah try in terms of assessing the students. So boleh guna Kahoot, boleh guna Socrative, Mentimeter, Google Form. And kalau nak tahu exam.net ni sesuai untuk real time assessment. Kalau student dia lambat dia jawab, dia macam cheat, kita boleh block dia. So dia kena personally text kita, "Doktor, please unblock me because I need to answer." Then kita boleh tanya, what is happening? So kalau dia ada cubaan-cubaan, dia akan block. So exam.net is tapi sorry, exam.net ni free untuk tahun 2020 ni. So tahun depan, this is a Sweden punya innovation. Saya rasa tahun depan dia akan mula bayar, dia start charging lah. Tapi nak try out sekarang, boleh cuba exam.net mungkin, atau JPPKK boleh langgankan, I'm not sure. And kita ada many other tools such as Quizlet, YouTube, Quizzes, Formative. Saya suka guna Go Formative sebab Go Formative ni saya boleh enhance PDF. Kalau saya ada satu PDF dan saya nak tanya soalan in between, saya boleh enhance PDF menggunakan Go Formative. And Flipgrid saya guna untuk students presentation, untuk dia upload video dekat dalam Flipgrid based on task lah, task based punya assessment. So these are among the examples. Kalau tengok belah kiri tu saya catering students yang with low bandwidth, saya guna Telegram sahaja, menggunakan Quizbot, ask question, so diorang jawab kat Telegram. And kalau belah kanan tu contoh menggunakan Google Form tetapi quiz feature. And saya suka guna quiz feature ni sebab kita terus dapat analisis dan students dapat markah terus. Kita boleh set students untuk tengok markah. So kita are being transparent with the students. Ini markah awak. So these are Telegram and Google Form lah. And untuk MOOC tadi, saya bagi contoh dekat sini macam mana supaya students ni dia tak boleh pun nak cek buku. Kalau tengok soalan ni on your left, dia kata saya bagi satu reading materials, so they have to select 3 most important and interesting features and discuss the implication in language teaching and learning. So it is more of higher order thinking skills punya soalan. So everybody will have different opinion. Kalau lah dia letak opinion yang sama pun kita nampak you tiru kawan you punya markah jawapan dekat comment section kan. So kita nampak different answers. And kalau belah kanan tu they have to go through some online resources provided that. So dia ni ada macam yang ini adalah untuk student sarjana. Dia orang ni tak ada, biasanya student sarjana tak ada masalah internet because they are bergaji kan. So they have online resources, so saya kata go through some online resources and conclude characteristic of good language learners. So Alhamdulillah they can do all this, provided that kita kena go back tadi lah, yang ingat tak yang bulat-bulat tadi tu, adakah dia ada learning resources and so on before we come up with this kind of assessment. And of course, kadang-kadang tu kita nak check satu-satu tu is quite impossible. Tapi saya rasa Politeknik pun buat macam ni sebelum ni kan. Kita berpegang kepada sijil completion of dia dapat markah. So in the end kita boleh juga gunakan yang ni untuk grading kepada student, but not all. Maybe as a formative assessment, markah dia berapa. Berapa markah yang fulfill dekat certain area. And yang ini adalah contoh students submit written work, and sebenarnya kita boleh masih mark menggunakan online atau digital platform. Yang ini saya gunakan iPad, marking using annotation. So saya rasa some laptop yang touch screen boleh juga annotate, so you can use that if you have the facilities and the right device. And yang ini is where students are requested to review an article and identify certain information yang kita minta, but these are done together in a synchronous real-time meeting together with the students. So we want to, this is more of formative whereby we want to check apa yang kita ajar minggu lepas tu dia dapat identify tak dekat dalam artikel ni, article review. And this is more of creation, whereby they have to create a lesson plan. They have to create an activity to teach teaching writing. So they are presenting it using Zoom. Yang ini kita guna real time lah, synchronous. And this actually the lesson plan that they have designed in order to teach. So initially it was kita kena suruh dorang micro teaching, tapi sebab bila MCO and PKP micro teaching tak sesuai dan sebagainya, kita azam tu just share with us the lesson plan and kita ada sedikit reflections lah for them to write. And I think adakah itu menjawab soalan tadi, Doktor? Sama betul. Okay, yang saya guna. And it is already 11:28. Okay, saya summarize balik apa yang saya dah sentuh tadi. I have looked into introduction, designing effective online assessment. What are some of the issues and challenges to be considered, to be taken into consideration, and some of examples of tools for online assessment. So to summarize, I believe that we have to look into the triple function of assessment tadi. Before, during, after, and why and what we want to access. Choose the right tool, definitely, which include not just type of assessment, but the right digital tool, and of course the grading system, which is actually referring to the rubrics lah. and to assess the right set of skills. Make sure it is assessing or measuring the right set of skills, and select, we have to identify whether to use select response. Select response biasanya lots lah, lower order thinking skills, or constructed response, which is actually referring back to Puan Mas kata tadi, macam mana kita nak avoid cheating is more of constructed response, and that involve of higher order thinking skills. So between lots and hot. So dua tu we have to really look into it. It's not easy. Kalau tengok macam kan setakat buat quiz kan? No, it has to be designed from the beginning. So what would be my general recommendations for online assessment is start planning and designing assessment early from the beginning. Instructions, rubrics and expectations to be clear and complete. Masalah utama selalunya bila online environment, student tak faham instruction. So make sure it is clear apa yang kita nak, what is our expectation, what are they going to be assessed for, and then provide a space for students to ask question. Remember, ada kita ni, saya kata diri saya lah, kadang-kadang kita suruh dia buat, dia nak tanya macam tak ada space. Macam mana saya nak tanya ni, PM doktor tak reply. So we have to prepare a space for them to ask. Use variety of assessment types. Of course, when it comes to online environment, digital, kita kena provide video, simulation, case studies for deeper engagement. Nanti kalau kita kata online ni, student ni belajar ke tak belajar ke, how do we promote deeper engagement? So that is very important. Promote academic integrity in the online environment. Macam saya cakap tadi, mungkin pada tahap ni kita kena guna similarity check, turning in dan sebagainya. And of course, the lecturer will have to think of more authentic online assessment, not just MCQ. And then in the end, of course lah, ada contingency plan. Sebab jangan lupa hidup kita ni ada huruf A sampai Z. Jangan plan A, plan B saja. Plan lah sampai Z. So in the end, ada banyak plan. So you have to have your contingency plan. If this is not successful, what will be the next plan? Kalau tak boleh, apa dia? So basically, I think that's all from me. Macam banyak pula cakap, kalau nak dekat 11.30. Okay, so ini adalah QR code untuk nota tadi. In case if the participant need it, you can just scan the QR code. I hope whatever sharing done by me just now is useful for everybody. Within 1 hour, memang agak suntuk, but I hope I have delivered the most important information. And if anything, by all means, please email me at harwati@ukm.edu.my. So I return back to Puan Mas dengan Dr. Nana. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Harwati. Ada a few more questions, I think towards the end. Soalan-soalan yang tanya agak juga menarik. Let's see from Nur Azila. Can we say that as long as you take in the final grade, the assessment becomes summative? Is that a fair statement? I think this is where we get confused.
Yang tadi itulah.
Berterusan, ya.
Ya, tadi itulah.
Has got a summative punya flair in it, kan? So can we? Is it a fast rule? Is it something that?
If you were to ask me personally, I would say that is not fair. Kalau kita bagi formative, katakan sebelum makan dia dapat 2, in the end itulah markah awak. Tapi in the end kita tak reflect, adakah 30 semester tu cara kita ajar tu student faham ke tidak. So mungkin by giving the first formative assessment, tengok students tak perform, okay, then we have to sit down together and talk to the students. Maybe we have to do some need analysis. What are the things that, apa masalah you, especially when it comes to online environment. Mungkin student tu kata, masa doktor bagi saya punya internet tenggelam timbul, bila dah terkeluar saya tak boleh masuk balik. So we have to really identify the problem. If there is a need to give the second chance, we have to give a second chance. Because pada saya, continuous assessment is always for us to help the students to make sure the learning is happening. Unless summative assessment, kalau kita bagi sekali in the end, dia tak perform, maksudnya that's it. You memanglah tak belajar apa-apa. Tapi to say that formative assessment, continuous assessment is whatever you get, itulah in the end, that will be quite not fair, because formative assessment is also reflecting to our strategies, instructional strategies.
So maybe we can suggest that what is in the AST, AST yang tu semua, those are the key assessments.
Yes, key assessment.
In between that, you can have your formative assessments.
Yes, betul.
Help each other out, right? So that is one way of looking into it.
Yes.
Another question here from Aisha. macam mana nak nilai assessment yang melibatkan psychomotor? Now we have gone into the region of psychomotor, especially if it's done online.
So sekarang ni kita melihat kepada the detail adalah the domain tadi kan. So kita dah tengok dekat belum taxonomy level. Now we want to go into detail of the level domain. So kita ada kognitif, kita ada affektif, kita ada psychomotor. So based kepada CLO kita, saya tanya balik. Psychomotor tu dekat mana? So I cannot give a very specific answer sebab of course it has to be aligned to the learning outcome. Psychomotor tu dekat mana? Kalau psychomotor tu dekat CLO 3 contoh, and CLO 3 adalah melibatkan presentation. Of course we can see kalau kita nak students buat simulation. Dia ada simulation, dia ada demonstrate. So that involves psychomotor sebab when it comes to presentation kita nampak the action itself. So again, kalau saya nak menjawab soalan ni, I would ask you to go back to your learning objective. Dekat mana psychomotor tu being assessed? Kalau biasanya psychomotor ni dekat higher order level lah, maybe creating, designing, apa tu orang kata simulate, buat simulation dan sebagainya. So in the end, maybe student present, maybe student record. So those will be assessing the psychomotor part lah.
Okay, right. Maybe one more question from me. Maybe after that, Puan Mas take over. Just now you mentioned that there are 3 types of bandwidth. Low, medium, and high, kan? And kita kena identify and so on. But what if in the classroom there is a good mix of all 3? You know, ada student yang kena panjat pokok, quote and quote, medium and others. So from your experience, what is your best practice?
Dia as long as jangan lecturer yang panjat pokok dah lah.
Tak lama lagi ada tu.
Takut nanti ada lecturer yang kena panjat pokok. Okay, kalau from my own experience, so far memang untuk postgrad kita ada masalah, student sarjana. Tapi student undergraduate, to be honest, kita memang ada P40 yang memang dia orang tak ada internet and dia kena cakap, dia kena pergi cyber cafe untuk jawab, which is of course masa starting PKP tu cyber cafe is closed and dia pun tak bawa balik laptop. Kalau dia bawa balik pun dia tak ada internet connection unless dia punya mobile data saja. So I'm giving them bukanlah freedom tapi kita bagi dia options. Kalau those with internet connection, you kena bagi I dalam bentuk apa, YouTube ke apa ke, you bagi I dalam Google Form ke, Google Doc ke. Tapi kalau yang with low bandwidth ni, maybe worst come to worst, you have to write the answer, snap and send to me. So there are options of ways doing the assessment as well as submitting the product lah, the student's answer. And of course, awal-awal lagi kena identify lah siapa with that's why saya kata tadi, starting kena buat analisis dulu. Berapa ramai yang with high bandwidth, berapa ramai yang with medium bandwidth, berapa ramai with low bandwidth. Kalau yang high bandwidth tu, so in the end kita semua kena guna cara WhatsApp and Telegram. Tapi kalau ramai yang high bandwidth, so kita go by case by case. Yang low bandwidth ni, you will have a different way of submitting your answer. So there will be case by case lah. So in a way sebenarnya siapa kata online ni lebih mudah, sebenarnya online ni lebih mencabar untuk pensyarah in terms of the beginning of doing it. Lepas tu insyaAllah okey.
Betul. Saya setuju tadi dengan doktor kata amat-amat mencabar, lebih lagi sekarang ni kan musim COVID ni macam-macam lah soalan daripada pensyarah
macam-macam,
especially exam ni.
Agree.
Soalan lah daripada Nur Azlina Hashim ni doktor, dia tanya kalau psychomotor assessment contohnya, ni mungkin contoh untuk elektrik saya rasa, amali wiring, macam mana dia nak laksanakan?
Okay, kalau macam psychomotor, kita boleh minta untuk wiring. Saya minta maaf dulu sebab saya bukan bidang engineering, tapi I have few friends yang daripada bidang engineering yang mereka venture into virtual lab. Virtual lab. So sebenarnya mungkin psychomotor tu tidak dapat ditunjukkan oleh pelajar tu sendiri, tapi dari segi virtual lab tu, adakah mereka if they can draw ke, if they can do something with the virtual environment, that is already testing the psychomotor, walaupun dia tak boleh nak deliver tu sendiri tapi they are showing. That is already Seiko Moto. So
as long as dia punya CLO tu dia tercapai, it's okay kan doktor kan?
Yes, betul.
Dia come back ke balik CLO balik lah kan doktor?
Betul. Sebab saya as I masa starting PKP hari tu, we have a group or circle of friends yang talking about how we want to go into students yang kena buat lab ni. Macam mana budak engineering diorang kena masuk lab, nak buat tu nak buat ni. So a few friends they come up with this virtual lab environment. So macam mana the students nak nak buat assessment using virtual lab environment. So benda tu something that you need to venture lah, especially in TVET punya scenario. Yes.
So this virtual lab is something they made. It's not something that's available online.
No, so far what I know they have to create lah. Worst case ada yang kawan-kawan kata students ni dia tak ada device, so macam mana? So ada yang sampai tahap lukis yang macam dia buat macam komik tu tau, sikit nak tunjukkan the movement up to the extent the creativity of the students. Tapi ini yang kita refer balik kepada readiness and acceptance is very high. Itulah, so banyak aspek yang kita kena tengok lah.
Okay, I think kita dah 11:40, kita dah mau masuk dalam lebih masa, which is I think we can go on for one more hour.
Sorry.
So on behalf of SELT to you, kami terima kasih kepada Dr. Arwati atas
thank you so much.
Effective online learning, something different from the past few webinars yang kita ikuti. Dan tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang mengikuti webinar ini, saya harap konten yang telah diberi ini dapat membantu kita untuk memastikan at least we know how many formative assessments we have to do, how many summative assessments we have to do, bila nak grade, bila tak grade, and that kind of strategy. So again, thank you very much Dr. Arwati, nice seeing you again.
Thank you Dr. Thank you Puan Mas.
Alright, thank you Dr.
Thank you to all participants as well.
Yeah, thank you from all of us So kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, saya ucapkan terima kasih. Jangan lupa untuk bersama kita pukul 3 dengan satu lagi slot yang agak interesting So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum dan salam.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you Puan Mas and Doktor.
Thank you Doktor.
Alright, see you next time. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.